Hi, my name is Vanessa, and I got pregnant from drinking baby formula. Ever since I was young, I've loved the taste of baby milk. I knew it was weird for me to continue drinking it since I was no longer a baby or even a toddler, but I couldn't give it up. I guess you might say I was addicted to it. When I was in high school, I'd spend my allowance in buying myself my favorite brand of baby formula, and I'd keep it hidden in my room. I even had a baby bottle hidden underneath my bed. I knew people would call me a freak if they discovered my favorite treat, so I only drank it when I was sure I was all alone. My parents had no idea about my secret guilty pleasure. They did wonder why I didn't use my money to go to the cinema with my friends or buy myself nice stuff, but they just figured I was really careful with my income. In reality, I was spending all my extra money on my favorite brand of baby milk, which wasn't cheap. Now, you might know baby formula comes in two different formats, powder or liquid milk. Honestly, I've always preferred powdered milk since I could choose how much water I added to it, and so I could decide how thick or thin I wanted to drink my milk that day. I did buy myself liquid milk when I knew I'd be away from my room and wouldn't get access to my secret stash, though. For example, when I went on a trip with my parents or camping with my friends, I had to take those small pre made baby milk cartons and hide them in my bags. I was so close to being caught a few times, but luckily no one ever discovered my secret. As I grew older and moved out of my parents' house, it became easier to indulge in my addiction. I didn't have to hide the baby formula any longer and could keep it in my fridge or pantry, which was great. I felt so free since I could lay down on my sofa, drinking my baby milk without needing to lock myself in the bathroom or my room and gulp it down quickly. I could take my time and really enjoy it instead. It was really awesome being an adult and being free to both pay for my own baby milk and not need to hide it in the comfort of my own house. The problem was, though, my own guilty feelings. No matter if no one was watching, I still felt so odd doing it. Like it was so weird and messed up, even if I wasn't harming anyone. I guess I liked it because it made me feel safe when I was a little girl and my mom would take care of me. Plus, the taste is really good and I loved laying back and relaxing with my bottle and my baby milk. When I was in my mid 20s, I met a guy who I really liked. He became my boyfriend and would spend a lot of time at my house. That made me have to hide again when I drank my milk or had to wait until he wasn't there to indulge in my guilty pleasure. After a while, I decided I didn't want to hide around him any longer. If he didn't accept me the way I was, maybe our relationship wasn't right for me. So I gathered some courage and sat him down one day. I showed him my baby formula stash and my baby bottles and explained that I loved drinking it and had been doing it since I was young. Honestly, I was sure he'd call me a freak and walk out on me, but he was surprisingly understanding. He even encouraged me. My boyfriend said he didn't see anything wrong with it, and he'd even buy me baby milk if I wanted him to. Imagine how happy I felt. I had someone in my life that loved and supported me and didn't think that my baby milk addiction was weird at all. So he began buying me my favorite brand and bringing it home for me. I was sure he was the right guy for me and that we'd eventually get married. One day, he made me my bottle, and when I began drinking it, the taste seemed off. It didn't taste bad, it was just different. I asked if he bought a different brand, and he told me he hadn't. Maybe they had simply changed the ingredients slightly, he reasoned. I shrugged it off and drank the rest of my bottle. I didn't think anything of it until a few weeks later when things began to change. I got sick every single morning and felt odd. I didn't get my period that month, and so I decided to go see a doctor in order to figure out what was wrong with me. Much to my surprise, my doctor told me that I was pregnant. I told him that was impossible since I was still a virgin, even if I did have a boyfriend. He ran some tests just to be certain, and it turned out that I really was pregnant. I couldn't believe it. How was it possible? Maybe my boyfriend had slipped something in my baby bottle? Maybe drinking so much baby formula had gotten me pregnant? I'm still not really sure how this happened, even though I'm 8 months pregnant now. I plan to keep my baby, and my boyfriend is fully supporting me. Though I'm kind of scared. I want to be the best mom possible, so maybe this is a blessing in disguise? As for my baby milk addiction, I decided it was best to give it up. I really don't want to get pregnant again from it. Thanks for watching. Do you have any secret habit that you try to keep from your family and friends? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos on the channel.
Hi, my name is Allison, and I'm in love with a loser. I met Jack back in our freshman year. He was the sweetest guy ever, a real goofball. He made me laugh, and we'd spend hours hanging out together. It was amazing. He was my very first boyfriend, and he would end up taking me to prom in one of the most magical nights of my entire life. Back when we were in high school, everything was perfect. He had a part-time job, and he got great grades. Maybe not straight A's, but that wasn't a problem. Nobody's perfect. My parents really liked him, and they approved of us dating as long as it didn't get in the way of my studies. When we graduated, I decided to apply for a college close to home. Jason said he'd continue working for a while and gather some extra money before going to college. I found it a bit odd, but he seemed to have a plan, so I didn't nag him about it. It was after he got his new job that he began acting strange. Some of his coworkers smoked pot, and he began doing the same. He really enjoyed it. At first, it was a once-in-a-while thing, which I was sort of okay with. I've never done drugs, but it seemed like a minor issue. But then he began smoking pot every single day, and by the end of the year, it seemed like he was high more often than not. Things only got worse. Jason began drinking heavily. He tried to brush it off as just blowing off steam after a long day at work. I wasn't so sure that was the case, as he'd sometimes be on the same spot he was when I left for work that morning. You see, Jason and I had decided to move in together, so I both studied and worked at that time. We lived close to my college's campus, but still I was rarely at home, so Jason got to do everything he wanted without me noticing. One night, I received a terrifying call. Jason had been in a car accident. I couldn't believe it and rushed to the hospital. Thank heavens he only had minor injuries, but his car was destroyed. When he told me what happened, I was pissed off. He had been drunk driving and smashed his car against a tree. I wish I could say that's when Jason realized how alcohol and pot were messing with his life, but he didn't. He just went right back to drinking the following night. Soon I realized I was right to be suspicious. Jason was fired from his job because he kept calling in sick. He tried to hide it from me at first, thinking he'd get another job before I noticed, but he didn't even show up to the interviews. As rent was due, I was forced to take extra shifts at the restaurant I worked at. This meant paying less attention to my studies, which made me so angry at Jason. We began arguing almost every day. I would try every approach to get him to realize how he was messing up his life, and mine in the process. I screamed, I pleaded, I had heart-to-heart conversations with him. Every time he'd promise he would change, but he never did. The problem was, I loved Jason so much. When we first met, he had been this amazing guy, so I didn't want to just give up on him without a fight. I wanted to help him get better and go back to being that responsible, funny boy I fell in love with. Jason spent most of his time at home, watching sports on TV or gambling online. Somehow, he always had money for another beer or a joint, but never for bills or rent. I had to actually drop my studies for a while to work full-time in order to keep us afloat. That was when I decided to dump him. Enough was enough, I thought. But Jason was so heartbroken. He sobbed like a baby and swore he'd change. And like a fool, I believed him. I decided to stay and watched with pride as he went to his first job interview in over a year. He got the job. We celebrated without alcohol. I truly thought he had learned his lesson. I was wrong. Only a month later, Jason lost his new job because he didn't even bother showing up. This time around, I had enough. No matter how much I loved him, I couldn't be supporting a parasite all through my life. I paid for the last month of rent and explained to him that from then on, he either had to pay for it on his own or vacate the apartment. I moved back in with my parents and went back to college. It was the only way I could put my life back on track after the train wreck it had become. I still worked a half-time job to help pay for my expenses and plan on moving out the moment I graduate. I'm getting good grades, and my amazing mom and dad helped me pay for the debts I had accumulated because of Jason's responsibility. I still love him dearly, even after everything he did, but I can't let him drag me down. I have big dreams for my life and deserve someone who pulls his own weight, not some slacker who expects me to pay for everything while he lays on the sofa and drinks all day. Jason is not doing any better, the last I checked. He apparently gets a few odd jobs now and then to pay for his beer and pot, but is still a total loser. I feel so bad for him, but I learned you can't change someone who doesn't see that they are doing anything wrong. Thanks for watching. If you know someone who is stuck in a situation like mine, share this video with them. And don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos on this channel.